Go Bears. We just won a game today. Another nail biter. These stupid Bears. They keep making it hard for me to watch. I have a heart attack every game. But win's a win. Good season so far. 6-2, I think that makes us, which is pretty awesome. So we're gonna add some more fish to my wall here. I think last time I counted. Whoops. Nail biter. These stupid Bears. They keep making it hard for me to watch. I have a heart attack every game. There we go. So I'll just let a few people join. Let us get in here. As you just heard, I've got my iPad off to the side there, so I'll be able to see your comments. Let me get a count, and we'll figure out how many fish we got so far. I'm terrible at this. Okay, above the shark. 10. Okay, above the shark. 24. Maybe 40 fish, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. Shit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. So I think I got 40 fish up here, which is pretty good so far. And I asked earlier, I had a poll for my Instagram, people to add or make suggestions. I don't think I got any, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna hang out, let you guys catch up a little bit, but we're gonna see what I can come up with here. I've got some good spots still available. You can see there's a bunch of white up here. There's a little bit of white at the top. There's some holes in here that I can add fish to. There's a bunch of white over here and all the way down next to this jellyfish. And down here toward the bottom, you can't see in this bottom corner as well. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm just going to get a fish up so I can get started. I'll probably add, let's start with a hogfish. I think I'm going to add first. I don't have one of those yet. And they are fun, so we'll add one. Just looking for a good photo of one. They're cool. They've got a fun dorsal fin. They've got some crazy stuff going on top. So I got to find a good space to put him. I say maybe up here. So I'm going to readjust you a little. Just a tad. We're going to go right here. Is that going to work? Yeah, I think so. So let's see. He's got a really long nose. His face kind of looks like that of a pig, I think is why he says that, or he's called the hogfish. But once you get in here, say hi. Feel free to let me know who's watching, where you're watching from. We're working on a hogfish right now. He's got some craziness going on. Funky looking dude. But they're pretty cool. I'm taking suggestions again today. So if you're just joining and you'd like to have something added, please let me know. Okay, then we got our, so his dorsal fin is actually super long. Unfortunately, I don't have the room to put it. But it's really cool looking. Okay, let's see here. I think this is a little too long. Yep. That looks pretty good. We're going to have a dark band of color coming up here, up his face onto his back. Nostril is up in here. Once again, if you're just joining me, say hello. I'll be able to see your chats. I've got you off to the side. So say hi. Make some suggestions if you think you want to see me put something in here. So I think his eye is a little too far back. It's kind of like halfway up this huge head of his. Yeah, that feels better. Which means I can pull this guy in closer. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Still gonna have this going on up here. We've got this kind of coming out. We got some fins down here, but we're not gonna be able to see them. It's got some nasty teeth on him. Yeah. Okay, there's our hogfish. So let's get to the pens. Yep, there's that. So we've got some of this going on here. Some of his nasty looking teeth. go ahead and put this up here. Okay, so there's our rough outline of our hogfish. So let's get to coloring a little bit. We're gonna grab a slightly larger pen size here. I know I've got one. Just make my life a little bit easier. I'm gonna start by coloring in his eye a little. Add some color to this mouth he's got going on. And so this up here is dark, and then he's got a lighter color underneath. And so I'm gonna start with the light base tone. I'm gonna color in the same direction as this fin is going, just to make it look textured. We can get a pretty good look just by doing that alone. There's going to be some dark shadows under his gills. Yeah, just like that. And so now we've got this guy here is almost see-through, so I'm not going to do too much. We're going to have some coloration here. He's kind of like spotted, but I don't really feel like doing all of that. So what I'm going to do is add some crossing lines. That's going to give me kind of a gilled look, or a fin, or a, not fins, not gills. It's going to give me a scale look without having to do too crazy much to it. Same thing here. You see I go like that, and it's going to give me some texture without me having to try very hard for it. This pen's not liking me right now, so I'm going to switch to a different one. Unfortunately, when you're doing something this big, you run through a lot of pens. So it's good to have a bunch of them on backup. Color in this top side in. Okay, so gonna add a little bit of shading here. Just want it to seem a little darker in some areas than others, right? A little bit of variation goes a long way. Okay, and now I'm gonna shade here so it sits behind the whale shark. Okay, and you see how that pushes him backwards a little bit. Just want him to sit behind the whale shark. A lot of fish have this lateral line that goes through their body, and some of them have fun little markings on it. So we're going to add that for him. Pretty simple to start, but there's our hogfish. Gotta add him to our list of names. So let me get another count really quickly. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. So hogfish is number 41 to our list. So let's pick a different fish for number 42. These are all saltwater that I'm working with. So I'm just going to look for some interesting saltwater species. I know there's a lot of them, so shouldn't be too difficult. What kind of space do I have? Not a ton. So I'm going to go kind of with some smaller fish, I guess, or some small versions of some huge fish. So I think I want to do a sunfish or a mola mola, but they're giant. So mola mola are the heaviest fish in the ocean, and so they're big bodied. They're the ones that you've probably seen them if you've watched a nature documentary. Their body is like this, and then they've got two fins on top and bottom, and that's how they float around. And they're really cool, but I got to find a good spot to put that. That's not going to be too distracting from everything else. I could go down here, maybe, kind of next to this guy. I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm actually going to turn you around, and I'm going to draw around you. But I'm going to try to shrink you down a little bit. I know. This is not the final look. Okay. Almost there. Okay. So we're going to add a mola mola here. We're going to put him right there, kind of behind the jellyfish. So let me find a good photo of one. I mean, I think any photo is as good as any other photo with these guys. They're a little freaky looking. Something like that will work for me. So let me get a stool to sit on. Maybe. I'm not seeing one anywhere near here. So maybe I'll just crouch down and make it work. But we're going to go with a mola mola. So shape wise, we're looking at really interesting. And so he's going to be behind this jellyfish. I want to draw in what I can though, so that we've got some kind of indication of what's going on here. They're weird looking dudes. That's for sure. Then we got an eyeball here. Got a big flat. I don't know if this is a gill or a fin or what. It looks like it's placed about where a fin would be, but he's got big fins up top and on the bottom, so I'm not sure. So is that going to work? I think that's a little weird. Maybe we'll find one that's kind of swimming towards us so we can get him actually good in the frame and fill this vertical spot better. They're even weirder when they're swimming towards you. That's the problem. Yeah. Maybe we pick a different one. I want something very vertical to go alongside here, or a bunch of little tiny ones, but I'm not sure. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'm going to add a look down in here. Say hi if you're just joining. Let me know where you're from. Look downs are cool. They're an interesting looking fish. And I think it'll fit in the area that I'm trying to get it in. Okay, so we can add a look down in here. And so he's going to squeeze in a lot better because the front of his face is really flat. And so some of him will be behind the thing, behind this jelly, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Okay. There is the basic shape. And there's his mouth, way down at the bottom like that. I know it's weird looking, but there's a lot of weird looking fish out there. His eye, it's a little too low. His eye's about in the middle of his head. So that's kind of what we're working with. Okay, so there's my look down. Rough drawing. We've got a little bit of detail back here. His fin is almost non-existent. Can hardly even see it. So we can add him in now. Okay. You can kind of see why they call them look downs. They got a funky, funky deal going on. Okay. And so now we'll color him in. We do have a bit of a unique shape going on here with him. He's got like he's got some interesting stripes going on. And then his rib cage is and like it's like really strange. We'll get there when we get there. Start by coloring in his eye. We've got a nice base coat. Let's start with a light base coat, like I would anybody else. Okay. So nice light base coat to start. We're gonna have some pretty major shadows around his eye and down his face. Yeah, there's that. Some shadow above his head. And then we've got a shadow in here where we meet the back of the gills. And then there's some size to his body. We're going to have a couple light stripes in there like this that I'm going to kind of scribble between. We're going to darken up in there because that's behind everything. And we've got some darkness here just to put it behind the jelly. Okay, so here's the weird shit up here. We've got some rough, vague darkness. And then you can see along this line, he's got like, I don't know if they're his ribs or what, but he's got some striping along his line here. And then got this little guy back here. That's his fin. And then there's this other fin up here that we know about. Taking suggestions, so if you're just tuning in, feel free to suggest a fish that I can add to my overall drawing. I want to back us up so we can look at what we're at so far. That's fish number 42 to my list. We can see we got a lot of stuff going on. Way to the bottom down there. So just adding a couple more here just for fun. I'm going to kind of work away until I'm satisfied with how full it is. So there's that guy. We're going to add some more, I think. Just not sure what yet. So I'm going to look here for another one. If you've got a suggestion of fish you'd like to see, let me know. Let's see here. What else can I add? I want to add some small guys down here maybe. So we'll just find some small fish. I could add a ladyfish in here. That would be pretty easy. So let's find a ladyfish. Ladyfish are another one of those ones that I don't really prefer to catch, but they call them the poor man's tarpon. They will jump and flail just like you're fighting a tarpon, except they're this big usually. I've caught a couple that were pretty big, but they're not usually very big. So I'm going to turn you around again. Just so I can see better. And where shall we add a ladyfish? I'm thinking maybe up here. That's a good spot for one. So let's aim a little bit further up. Okay, we're gonna put a ladyfish in here. Pretty simple shape, just like a torpedo. One of those numbers. But we got some interesting details in the head, and so that's where I'm going to want to pay the most attention. But we've got a little fin up here. And then we've got a little guy down here. Okay. The actual fin of our fish is here. And then let's work on the head. So the head is interesting. It's got one of those shapes going on. We got a pretty big eye right up toward the front. And this comes right underneath his eye. Like that? Yeah, just like that. And then we've got quite an interesting gill structure going on in here. And then some gills like that. And our big guy up here. Yeah, there we go. There's the basic gill structure. So I'm going to erase it lightly because I got pretty dark there. I'm going to come back in and do some light touching of it. There we go. So that'll do it for that section. I'm pretty sure. Okay. So there's our ladyfish. We've got a lateral line down here, which I did on accident already. They're pretty skinny. And let's get to the pens. Same deal as usual. I want to start at the eyeball. Okay. I think the head's too small. For the size of the body, but that's okay. Would a rainbow trout fit, Journey? So not really. I'm doing saltwater mostly. So a rainbow trout doesn't really fit the theme of everything. Rainbow trout are typically freshwater fish. I'm trying to stick with saltwater here. Think like something in a reef or, you know, stingrays and sharks and fun stuff like that. Something you'd catch out at the beach or on a charter boat. We're trying to keep it saltwater mainly. Okay, ladyfish done. So I do have a saltwater trout on here as well already. Speckled trout is what it's called. And it's down here toward the bottom. If you will look right here, this is a saltwater trout. So it's, I don't even know if it's actually related to a rainbow trout, but they call them both trout. And so I've got that there for that purpose. But I think I want to add some more little reef fish like this. I've got some smaller guys in here that I think would be fun to do. So I am going to look up some small reef fish species so that I can kind of figure out some of those. Like, I think it'd be fun to do. Oh, you know what would be fun to do? Let's put a bamboo shark in here. One of my favorite species of shark. My actual favorite is a wabagon, but I'm not going to draw that. That's too much work. But I could do a bamboo shark. So they sit on the bottom most of the time. So I'm going to put it towards the bottom here. But I think I've got enough room that I can put one down low. So let's mess with this guy really quickly. I might have to disappear for a second so I can fix this. Hang on, I'll be right back. Okay, how's this look? Yeah, perfect. I have an extendable pole, but that one's got the light on it. And so this pole, it has 3 hinges that will bend up to 90 degrees this way. So I have to like finagle it a little weird to get it to work properly. But I'm going to put a bamboo shark down here, I think. So let's move you to this side so that you can see better. And then I've got my iPad over here. I'm just going to find a good picture of a bamboo shark that I can do down on the bottom. Come on, a real one, not this garbage. Let's see here. Oh, that's a great one. Okay, so I found myself a good picture of a bamboo shark. So let's throw him in here. Ooh. Get down on the ground for this one. So, re-stick this a little better. Oh, and Journey, I don't know if you're still in here watching, but I've got your drawing, Kitty Boy, ready to ship off. I'll probably do that tomorrow. So these bamboo sharks are epaulet sharks. And what's interesting about them is they kind of walk on the floor when they're, instead of swimming, they like will walk with their bottom epaulet fins, which is really cute. You may have seen them if you go to aquariums often. They keep them in the little touch tanks. I got to get a stool. I can't be crouching on my knees like that. It hurts too much. But I've got one right here. Just got to clear some stuff off of it first. Oh, yeah. Much better. Something to sit on instead of hurting my knees like that. Okay, so we'll continue with this guy. Unfortunately, the way I've got it right now, we're not going to see his dorsal fin. I can make it so. That's a little better. Because we're still going to be able to see this guy. And then that's going to go up into a big tail fin. Yeah, that's cool. And so then he's going to have a pretty big belly like this. And that's where his fins are going to come out, where he sits on the floor. There's one. And here's the second one. And so these guys are striped, which is fun. So I'm going to go ahead and do that in a second here. And they really have the cutest little face. Okay, so let's figure out some of this stripage we got going on here. Okay, and so that's going to be one stripe, just like that. Gonna have another here. And so this is not quite exactly copied from the reference I'm working on. I've shrunk him a little bit, and so it's not going to be perfect, but that is okay. What do I want to do about that? I think it's fine. And so then this guy is not going to be part of the fin. This next stripe here. Yeah, looking cool so far. Say hello if you're just tuning in, if you feel like it. Obviously, you don't have to. I'd like to know who's here. I'm taking suggestions. I'm trying to keep it with just saltwater fish, though. So if you do have a suggestion, I'd prefer if it were saltwater. Thank you. Okay, and so now he starts to turn away. Cool. I think that's going to look really good when I color this in. Let's jump onto that. Here's my 8. I think I'll go with that. As always, I'm going to start with the eye. The eye's pretty dark, so I don't really know what's going on in it. But I do know that I want to leave some area here. So my light color is going to look kind of like this. So there's our light side. And then our dark stripes are going to be almost entirely black. And then we're going to have some little whiskers almost coming off of them. Bamboo sharks are very closely related to cat sharks and epaulet sharks and things like that. They live in coastal waters, very shallow, near reefs. They like to hide underneath rocks and sit in the shallows. They'll eat small fish and crustaceans, like everything else this size, essentially. Okay, so let's get to coloring in, huh? So the light of the dark, I want to be about this dark so that I can still make it darker. That's kind of my goal right here. I want it to be noticeably darker than the light section, which I think we're getting, but not so dark that I can't add shadows to it. For example, there's a shadow around the eye here, and then there's a shadow up here for the underside. I think that's getting my point across nicely. So we're actually going to go a little wider here, I think. Nice. So once again, we'll add the light section. Little shadow in here. And there's also a little shadow kind of right there. And then my dark section. We've got a bit of a shadow here. I think this is turning out nicely. So for this fin, we're going to go with that because it's all light color. And then we've got a light section here. That's pretty much just the light color. But I'm gonna just darken the bottom because it's sitting on the sand, so we can still make it look like that. And then my dark section. I'm gonna go really dark on the fin. And then we can lighten it up a little here. Okay, we got a bit of a shadow behind this fin that comes up a little higher around it here. Looking pretty good. This is interesting. Both of the dorsal fins have the same kind of black pattern on them. They've got this bar that comes to the front, and then it kind of blends off back here. But it's not the whole entire fin that's black, which is interesting, I thought. Okay, there's our epaulette shark. I think I can come in here to some of my other fish and darken them up a little bit. So for example, this mangrove snapper. I could make a little darker. In some areas, make them a little more interesting to look at. Cool. So that looks pretty good. We've been live for about an hour. So maybe I'll do one more fish and we'll call it there. Anybody got any ideas? I think this might be the last fish unless we start popping off like crazy, but anybody got any ideas for another fish we can do? I know I'm on a little bit of a delay, so I'll chill for a minute and wait and see what we think. But anything saltwater, really. I've got quite a few on here. This is fish number 43, I believe, or 44, 41, 42, 43. This is fish number 44. So I think 45 is probably a good number to stop at. So if you got any ideas, let me know. Otherwise, I'll kind of look for myself and see what I can come up with. Like I said, I've got my iPad here for reference photos. I think Hillary had mentioned a cowfish. Maybe I'll put a cowfish in here. Or how about this guy? What are you? What's your name? Hawkfish? Yeah, let's do a hawkfish. They got a fun pattern, so that should be fun to do. I think I'm going to put him maybe here. It's just a little guy. Oh, yeah. Check that out. That's pretty neat. So we'll put that in here. And then we'll call it. So here's this. That's a rough body shape. He's got a fun looking dorsal fin that comes all the way back here. Eyes, big eyes toward the front with these kind of more rectangular, almost pupils. I think this is too far back on his face. Gonna go a little further forward. That feels a little better. Interesting. We got some big old fins on this guy. It's kind of cool. And then obviously we've got our kind of plaid thing going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roughly mark in where some of these lines are. And then we can get to the pens. Okay. Here we go with this. Okay, so there's that. It's kind of the basics. We're gonna do a little fin down here. Okay, so base color for the whole body is this kind of middle gray, which will then be a little darker down here on the bottom. Okay, and so now we can do there's our baseline. We're gonna have a second one up here that trails off behind the head, or behind the edge rather. And then here's our third one that's gonna go all the way back here. Okay, and now we've got some vertical lines. That's pretty cool. Neat looking fish. Okay. We're gonna add some lines in here. We've got to add the fin. pectoral fin and the tail fin. They don't really have much going on, so I'm just going to do one of these numbers here. Yeah, that'll do. So there is our long-nosed hawkfish. Interesting looking one. But yeah, I think that's good about do it. I'm getting a little tired. Long week. Very busy on Friday, if you don't know. I had the art walk. Went really well. Everybody loved it. I was selling custom pet portraits that I was making live on spot. And they did really well, so I was quite happy with that. I basically did nothing but draw pictures of people's pets the whole night, which is awesome because I like money. But yeah, we'll wrap it up here. I'll put my final few names down and we can call it. So hogfish is 41. Then we added a look down was next, right? It don't really matter what order we did it in. Look down, ladyfish, bamboo shark, and long beak, long nose, hawkfish. So is that all we added today? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there we go. So that'll do it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it. This live will go live on my channel, and once it's uploaded, won't take too long, I don't think. But yeah, so I'll take you through everything we've done so far one last time. So we've got this top section. Oh, and I meant to say, so this whale shark was inspired by one of the whale sharks at the Atlanta Aquarium in Atlanta, Georgia. And one of their whale sharks actually just passed away, which is really sad. But I think I'm going to be making a tribute painting for it coming up here in a little bit. So one of my videos later this week that comes out, I think is going to be of a whale shark. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, we'll continue down. All 45 of my fish that I've done so far. And yeah, that'll do it. Thank you guys once again for watching. I appreciate it. I'll be trying to go live again next Sunday. We'll probably go live just about every Sunday from now on. So mark your calendars. You can come join me. Otherwise, if you're not subscribed, do so. Leave some comments. Hit the bell so you're notified whenever I post. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, John J. Art on Facebook, and then John Johnson __ art on Instagram. They'll all be linked in the description so you can see it. But yeah, that'll do it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.